All right, hello. Welcome back to the podcast. Today is a weird one, everybody. It is March 5th, 2021, and there are a lot of stub toes and dirty dishes. Today I'm talking with Becky Ferreira, who covered a story for Vice about the manatee who had the word Trump written into its back. Apparently, according to the article, the writing of Trump may have only shed dead skin, so hopefully the animal wasn't harmed. I'm not here to judge anyone if your mind has moved on to the next tragedy and the next, but hopefully today we can remind ourselves that we are a community of animal lovers. We love baby pandas, we love rare breeds of lions. I love wombats because I think they're cool. Hi there, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah.
All right, terrific. How are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Good, yeah, excellent. I'm really glad that you were game to come on to do this podcast thing. That's really excellent. Thanks for doing it.
Oh, thanks so much for having me, Will.
All right, awesome. So where are you coming from? Where are you going? Tell us a little of your backstory.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm coming from Ithaca, New York. That's, I guess, in terms of my career and things like that, I've been a science reporter for about 7 or 8 years, mostly covering natural sciences, space and biology and really fun stuff like that. So
It is
that's
fun.
yeah, it is. So that's just what I hope to keep doing, really. I mean, it's kind of a real privilege to cover it.
I do have a question about your space article writing at the end of this little questionnaire. And we're trying to keep it relatively short, right? You got about 20 minutes, 30 minutes?
Yeah, 2025.
All right, all
Yeah,
right,
that'd be great.
all right, terrific.
And just so you know, I think there's
I keep thinking if I just move it ever so slightly, it'll make all the difference. But all right, yes. Was this story assigned to you, or did you approach Vice with the idea?
no, it was my editors asked to assign it to me, and obviously it was a really troubling story, and so yeah, I wanted to be able to share it as quickly as possible with the readers.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely. And so in that same vein, I'm curious, did you guys, this isn't might not be the most uh, best way to say it, but did you guys find the story first, or how did this story start to filter out?
No, who was it was a local Florida paper, and I feel like it was called the Orange County Sentinel or something like that.
Wow.
Um, but it had broken, I think, either that day or the day before, and this was also like the days following the Capitol riot, so it was already there was like a lot of troubling news going on. So they broke it, and they had some really great contextual information that we linked to when we did our story.
Wow, just incredible. So, I guess you didn't really have that much time to write this. Did you just have a day, or how long?
Yeah, with a story like that, we usually try to get them out as soon as possible. So if I recall correctly, I think I probably spent only like 2 or 3 hours putting that together, trying to get
Wow.
as many expert comments as possible. Of course, the local paper having reported this story first, we just wanted to be able to add as much context as we could with other scientists.
Right. And actually, I read the article, and you did have a few good, unique comments from a few different scientists. Did you just know these people, or did you send a quick email like, "Hey, I love your work"?
Yeah, for a story like that, I usually just like blast out a bunch of emails to people. I didn't know anyone previous to that, but normally what's great about my job is that scientists are game to talk about things almost always. So I just asked a bunch of people who would come up when you're looking for people who study manatees, who study ocean conservation, this kind of stuff. And yeah, I was very lucky to get as many people as possible before we had to close and file it.
Wow, that's terrific. That's great news that science people are game to talk as well. Because so
Totally.
one more question, sticking with the manatees. Um, you note that it was actually unconfirmed if
Mhm.
the manatee was harmed by this crazy happening, and it may have been dead skin
Yeah.
removed from the manatee to create this logo. in a way, I thought that's just as concerning because that means that possibly someone who knows about manatees and maybe even feels some sort of responsibility toward manatees still thought this would be a good idea. How did it feel to become more involved in this story? Did you think about who did this?
Yeah, definitely. And I don't know what the motives or the background of the person is. And I just did a quick check to see any up and publicly, charged or named or found from this. But um, yeah, I mean, what I think is so troubling about it is that manatees, one of the things that's so endearing about them is that they're very docile. And it's like a big problem, harassment in general of them, because you can basically just go up to them, which is not
Right.
advisable. It's illegal. You shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
But, they're not like most wild animals. They have a very different life strategy. So I thought that was really sad that someone took advantage of that. And I do hope that the injury was only, the scraping of maybe the algae that's on their skin
Right.
off, in which case it wouldn't be too much of an injury. But of course, that would probably still be quite stressful for the animal. Probably had to be held still. And so who knows?
Mhm.
Yeah. But they're just lovely creatures, and it's very sad to see
Absolutely.
something like that happen.
Yeah. Did you learn any facts you didn't know about manatees while you're, you know, getting this article out?
Yeah, I guess I didn't know that they had that like outer coating of algae, that they dependent on, or like, I guess I'm not dependent, but they have this coating, which makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was kind of interesting to learn. And it was also, that was like a little bit again of a relief, thinking that hopefully that was, not a painful thing, and that it was only kind of traumatic on a level of being held still. But I don't know
Exactly.
that for sure. It's possible they did injure it.
Right.
So
Um,
that was,
I
yeah.
I just want to throw in because you mentioned they were very docile. There is a 24-hour live feed of just manatees swimming around on YouTube right now, so I can send you
I
the
lo-
link to that after
I love
after
that.
after this is over. Yeah, it's great, right? Going in with your science reporting, I was actually curious, is there a story you've wanted to do, but you couldn't find enough material for?
That's an interesting question. I think there's always those stories where they're so fun to write about because they're about speculative things like the nature of dark matter, or why is the universe accelerating.
Right.
And you could say that there's not material on that because it's like they're incredibly hard questions to actually study. So those are always like, I love writing them, mostly because it reminds me of human ingenuity in terms of like scientists are just not going to take no for an answer on these questions, despite how difficult it is. But there
Yeah.
is a sense of, I'm writing something that you may never get the answer, and it's very tantalizing. Can't imagine how much worse that feels for the actual scientists themselves. But
Yeah.
that's kind of the great thing about it too, is that it's a collaborative effort, not only over space, over the globe, but across time. So I think a lot of them feel that even if they don't live to see the results of something, they're contributing to that chain.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So I was gonna save this question for the very end, but you teased me up for it so well. You mentioned dark matter. Just 2 days ago, you released this incredible article about potential further discoveries of
Yeah.
dark matter. So you describe this as a cosmic collision that stunned scientists. 17 billion light years away, two objects that scientists think were massive black holes merged into a single monstrous entity imbued with the never before seen mass of 142 suns. I'm quoting from the article. Um,
Yeah.
Ripples in space time, known as gravitational waves, swept through Earth on May 21st, 2019. So I have a two-parter question. Did the science
Mhm.
community know this was going to happen? And B, did that presumably change our world? Question mark, question mark.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was that was the date that it was detected by LIGO, the gravitational wave detector. So
Uh-huh.
they definitely, LIGO since 2015 has been able to detect these amazing ripples in space time. They're so cool, and like one of my favorite scientific topics. So they've detected like a couple dozen at this point. So they know that they're going to get them, but they never know when. So when they got that one on May, what is it, 21st, it was like a really big deal because it was the most massive collision of black holes that they think. The article has this other suggestion of what it could have been, but the most
Right.
likely thing is that there was two big black holes, and it created that massive unified black hole of 142 suns, which is, you can get black holes that like the one that's in the middle of our galaxy that are like billions of suns, but it's very rare to see that. It was like not only the most distant 17 billion light years away is obviously really, really far, also the biggest, and then had this, new finding of like, oh, well, we've never seen a black hole that size before. They're normally stellar size, or they're gigantic, behemoths at the middle of galaxies.
Okay.
It's pretty awesome.
It's awesome. But really, like, what does it mean for ripples of space time to pass through Earth? Is it really like, oh, we're all different people now because space time has been
sort of? I mean,
yeah,
when gravitational waves go through you, it's like that's what makes LIGO such an amazing facility, is that they're such subtle waves that there's like, I think it's don't quote me on because I'm not quite sure, but it's like a width of a proton that they
wow,
actually oscillate. So it's very tiny, but they've managed to make these like big detectors that are like a mile or two across and so these lasers shoot across that distance and they can detect even something that tiny. And yes, when they go through us, our bodies like oscillate with them as if we are like we're in space time and we're just matter. So it affects us. Absolutely. It affects everything that it goes through. So that's one of the trippiest things about it. And they are amazing because, so far we've only had the ability to look at things that emit light, stars, galaxies. This is a new way to see phenomenon that doesn't emit light, collisions of black holes, things like that. So it's a total new window into astronomy.
Incredible. Okay, and
Yeah.
so while we're in this, what's one of the craziest sort of black hole, like, people always talk like what's on the other side of a black hole, right? What's the
Mm-hmm.
craziest one you've heard a scientist say that you can share, I guess?
Oh man, there was a great little piece I did a little while ago, which was all about this idea that, it's a fairly familiar sci-fi idea that black holes are wormholes and you can go through them and come out on another black hole mouth
In your
somewhere else.
spaceship.
But yeah, exactly. I mean, you'd probably die, but theoretically matter that you were would come out somewhere else. So if you want to live, it's not great. But if you want to like just in some form travel through space, it's fine. But it was really interesting. The guy had done a kind of like, how would you be able to test this observationally? And he figured out that like the energy going through one of these wormholes would be so massive that you could look for this gamma ray signature that would kind of explain, if you saw it, it would be evidence that perhaps something was coming out of the mouth of a wormhole in one of these giant black holes that are the center of galaxies. So it's not like the black hole itself emits the light, but just more like it kind of like bursts out a bunch of matter that maybe you could see it get some observational proof. I'd have to like reread the article, but I love that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
And I mean, I think that's the great thing about black holes is that it could be anything, right?
It could be anything.
It's like we just don't know. They're such crazy objects.
It's an amazing thought. Like I with like my friends and stuff, I get an argument with them about black holes, and for you, like it's like the same, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, like but the notion of monitoring gamma rays for the black hole, I would have never known that. I know that much. So you also released a story that pigs know how to play video games.
Yeah, loved it.
Rise of the pigs, or
I hope so. I'm pro pig overlords. Honestly, I love pigs. They're very smart, and that piece was really adorable and interesting because it's like really hard for them to use the joystick with their snouts. Like they were playing games that were designed by NASA for monkeys, and they played them pretty well.
Wow.
And that's pretty. It's pretty impressive.
Oh, I think you got chopped up for that last one, but it is really
Oh,
impressive. I agree. Yeah, so no worries. All right,
yeah.
so I'm gonna throw this in. I'll don't worry if it turns out to be no fun, I'll cut it out. But you had some time and all right, terrific. You had some time and you were sort of splitting your time between science writing and stand-up comedy. Um,
Hmm.
First of all, did you tell any hardcore science jokes that nobody gets on purpose?
Yeah, I think actually it's probably why I wasn't very good comedian. But yeah, that's all I like to tell jokes about. And I think sometimes it was good and sometimes not so much.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember if I have any in particular. I think I mostly just really enjoyed like sharing scientific theories from the past that turned out to be wrong and stuff like that, because that's always hilarious to me,
Yeah.
to see, it's a reminder of how much we might be wrong right now. So I always love to be like, this was like real scientific breaking kind
Yeah.
of stuff back in the day. But
Ye
sorry, I don't think I can remember exactly what my sets were, and probably for the best.
That's okay. I did find a pretty funny through your website, beckyferreira.com, and I'll throw a link in this video if anybody wants to jump over. But
Sure.
I saw a piece you did with two other comedians for Glamour magazine called 15 Love Rules for Single Men from some very funny ladies. I really enjoyed that. I picked out one of your lines in particular. I really like this one. You wrote, "If you're going to use dating tips from the game, triple check that you are a d-bag first, and stay safe out there, d-bag." So, do you remember at all?
Yeah.
Do you remember at all coming up with that joke? Honestly, like, was it the morning? Were you about to go
Yeah,
to
well,
sleep?
it's like, no, I don't. I think it was just like middle day or something like that. And that the game was like way more relevant 10 years ago. It had just come out, and it
Yeah.
just made me so angry. So it was like probably in a lot of my comedy stuff. But yeah, so I was like, if I'm going to be giving tips, don't use that book.
Yeah, right. And then so one more
Yeah.
of these lines. I'm sort of paraphrasing here. We have just enough time, so I wanted to throw it in. You said you know, you actually said like to men, run through the rain to tell women about your feelings. They love that shit. Is that true? Do we really need to run through the rain?
Oh, definitely not. I think yeah, I think, stay healthy, stay warm.
Yeah,
And I think there was another one that was like, last through the moon for us, literally. I
yeah,
think I
right.
think I'd stand by that one. But
Yeah,
in
that's a
general,
classic.
yeah, running through the rain, it makes for good movie moments, but then you get there and it's like you're all wet and you got to like take a shower. It's not the most romantic arrival when you actually think through.
I'm actually so glad you put it that way because there are all these things like these sort of like romantic notions and yeah,
Yeah.
it's like in real life it's like don't do that.
Yeah, don't you ever think when you're watching like these like rom-coms and stuff, it's like, wouldn't this be really uncomfortable, like on the beach or in the shower? Like, no, just just
Yeah.
be regular people.
Well, the thing is also like you grow up on them, so you're like 13
Yeah.
or whatever, you're like that can't be right. So,
Oh
like
God, don't get me started. Yeah, the stuff that we should be like editing out of our like teenage culture as we grow up. Yeah, it doesn't actually work that way in the end.
Terrific. Wow. Becky, you nailed it. Great answers. I this is so interesting. I'm so glad you wanted to come on. This is great.
Thank you so much for having me. This was really fun. I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
yeah. I can't believe it's literally like it's exactly 20 minutes pretty much. So that's pretty wild. We did it.
Nicely done. Yeah,
Thanks.
absolutely.
Thanks so much for coming on. If you do ever have free time in the future, uh, you'll have to come back. I mean, this was too cool. All right.
I'd love to. Love to do this again. Yeah, let me know.
All right. It shall be so. All right. Bye, Becky. Have a good one. Have a good weekend.
You too. Have a good one. Bye bye.
Bye.